You are listening to Unified Through Chronic and Mental Illness with your hosts, Angie Roberts and Kimberly Murphy. Please be advised that some of the topics of this podcast can be triggering and sensitive in nature.
Did you know that nearly 9 in 10 OBGYNs are sued for medical malpractice in the United States every year?
Hey, Spoonies and mental health warriors. Welcome back to Unified. I'm Kimberly Murphy. I'm here with Angie Roberts.
Hey, guys.
And this week, we're talking about a really difficult topic. I just want to throw out another trigger warning. If you've had any sort of sexual misconduct happen to you at a doctor's office, you probably, it's hard for you. You may want to turn this off. So just wanted to let you all know that. Today, we are talking about doctors without boundaries. Later on, we are going to be sharing some stories of women who have been through this type of situation. But first, Angie, can you tell us more about this issue?
Sure. Many things can go wrong behind closed doors in a doctor's office, and some patients know it better than others. I'm talking about sexual misconduct and all those patients who have been sexually harassed, abused, or assaulted during a medical exam or treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unfortunately, we lived in this messed up world with a lot of twisted people walking among us.
Yeah.
So, when you go to the doctor's office, be it a breast exam or a gyno exam, you're expected for your doctor to treat you professionally and with the utmost respect, and you're supposed to be able to trust them.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I think the issue is the doctors are often perceived by patients as power figures, and doctors sometimes exploit that power.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I think dentists are in that situation too, especially, any kind of doctor, really.
Oh my goodness. When I was researching this, let me tell y'all just so much on dentists. So it's quite scary.
So they're
actually.
like, really? Yeah. Well, I think it's because they have all of those medications that kind of put women under.
The sedation.
Right. Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me of the story that I read about David Mulho, a 58-year-old dentist who lived with his wife and 2 children in Scarsdale, New York.
Mm-hmm.
He was arrested at his office for sexually groping a patient and forcing her to touch him while she was sedated with nitrous oxide, also known as laughing gas, the authorities said.
Oh, wow.
And she was saying no and trying to struggle, and she was physically helpless. She couldn't control her physical responses, but she knew everything that was going on.
Oh, I couldn't even imagine being in that situation where you cannot defend yourself whatsoever.
I can't either.
Oh my goodness. Well,
and she did end up going to the doctor and talking to the doctor about it, and he said, "Oh, I'm really sorry that happened."
Oh my God.
He pretty much just said he was sorry, whatever.
Well, I'm glad he was arrested, because I think a lot of doctors get away with some things that they should be arrested for. And quite frankly, sometimes they don't believe the patients.
Right. That is so true.
I feel so bad for anyone who's been through that. What are you supposed to do in a situation like that?
First, you can go online and check out your doctor. There's a lot of things like online, like Google and stuff like that people will even leave
Reviews. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, so that you actually know what the doctor is doing.
Uh-huh.
Then you can check with the American Medical Association to see if your doctor is currently a member. And then you can find out the doctor's status by visiting the Doctor Finder section on the site.
Mm-hmm.
If your doctor's name is listed, you can file a complaint and write to the American Medical Association Attention Ethics Group.
So that's awesome, because you can use that to find out if your doctor's in good standing, and you can also use it to report them. I really wish I had known that, because a long while back, there's a girl that I know, and she gave me permission to tell this story, but wished to remain anonymous. was going in to have an abortion and asked me to be there as her chaperone. There was also a nurse in the room.
Mhm.
The doctor couldn't have a baby. And right. But because she couldn't have a baby, the nurse all of a sudden was like, "What are you doing?" I could hear her say this to the doctor. "What are you doing?" And the doctor's like, "I'm teaching this bitch a lesson." She basically scarred the entire inside of my friend's uterus
Oh my gosh.
and was trying to make it more painful so that she would not have an abortion again. And that nurse was so upset that she quit her job. And
I
of
don't blame
course,
her.
yeah, and the doctor did get sued for medical malpractice. She's had 3 other times when somebody has complained for the same reason, and the office closed down. But it was horrible. I mean, I felt really helpless, even though I wasn't the one it was happening to. I felt like I had some sort of responsibility for my friend to stick up for her. And I was just like, what's going on? What are you doing? You know, and I kind of froze, like that whole, we were talking about fight, flight, or freeze. I just froze. Like I didn't know what to do because, like, again, we see the doctors as really powerful. And for a doctor to misuse their power like that, I think it just puts you into a state of shock and you just don't know what to do.
You really don't.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't.
Yeah.
While I was researching, I read a couple things about abortion doctors so while I was researching this, I came across a couple things, well, not a couple things, but a whole lot of things about abortion doctors. But a couple of things that really stood out to me was the nurses that were talking about this would always say that during abortions, because the doctors did the abortions because they hated women. All
Oh
of
my
them would
goodness.
hate women. I mean, well, not all of them, but the nurses that are talking about bad doctors. She said that she didn't even have, one of the nurses said she didn't even have much sympathy for the women patients, but her attitude, well, you got yourself into this position, you'll have to tough it out, you know. But then after she heard that a doctor say that he hated women, and there was like a lot of comment making, cruel jokes, sarcasm, touchy-feely type games with the staff members. Yeah, she ended up quitting.
Yeah. See, now, I mean, I know abortion is a touchy subject, but every woman has the right to be treated with respect inside a doctor's office, no matter what's happening. And if you're a doctor that doesn't want to perform that, then you should not be performing abortions. Because in that same office, there was another doctor who didn't perform abortions because it was against his moral beliefs. So they do have a choice.
Right. They do have a choice. Right. And one other thing I wanted to mention that I thought was, I actually think this is kind of horrific to say, that a former clinic worker in Little Rock, Arkansas, she found herself up against an abortionist who brags about killing Black babies. She said he told a pro-life activist, like, you know, on the sidewalk, if you would just leave me alone, I would clear out Harlem.
Harlem? Are you serious? Oh my God.
I know. How unfeeling can you be?
I know.
How do these doctors stay doctors?
I don't know.
How are they even doctors? I don't know.
I know, it does make you wonder. And I mean, being a doctor is no easy task. So
It's not.
Become a doctor to have such a harmful attitude towards people. That's really scary.
It really is.
I hope that doctor's not practicing anymore. That's unbelievable.
I think most of these are not practicing anymore.
I would hope.
I would hope the nurses were speaking out against them. So.
Yeah.
In order to hold a doctor accountable under the legal doctrine of medical malpractice, sexual conduct by a doctor must consist of a non-consensual sexual relationship that occurs between the doctor and his or her patient, regardless of the patient or the doctor's gender. So there are a few forms of sexual misconduct these are the most common forms.
Okay.
Comments of sexual nature,
Mhm.
prolonged touching, unnecessary exams in the genitals and or breast, inquiring into the patient's sex life or sexual history unless it is relevant to the case. Unless it is relevant to the case. I don't even understand why they would do that, but
Well,
okay.
it can matter. Like if you're in the
Well, no.
gynecologist's office, they may want to know.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So
No, I mean, if it's not relevant to the case,
yeah, I don't know why they would do that.
ask.
I know, right?
Yeah. And the last three are groping, forcing themselves onto the patient, or sedating a patient to engage in sexual inappropriate behavior, which is like what we
The
read about the
worst. Yeah,
dentist.
that's horrible. So
Yeah.
you're telling me this, and so I just want to tell quickly something that happened to me just like a couple weeks ago. And now that you've told me this, I'm like, whoa, because I went to have a pap smear and pelvic exam, which I need to have one every year, and everyone else should too, by the way. And the doctor had a nurse with her. These are two women. So the nurse was the chaperone in the room. And as I'm getting my pelvic exam, and I think all the women out there know what happens when they do that, the nurse starts to laugh because there was a mirror behind the doctor, and I was on full display in this mirror. And she says that. She's like, "Oh my God, you're in full display." You know, ha ha ha. They both start laughing. They said, "Good thing it's not a one-way mirror, two-way mirror. What is that called? Two-way mirror?"
Two-way mirror. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. And then I'm like, kind of like looking at them like, what the hell? And then they said, one of them said, "We should put pictures of naked men on the ceiling." And then the other one was laughing and said, "We should play Boys to Men, I'll Make Love to You to set the mood." And I'm laying there getting a pelvic exam. And
Oh,
they're
my
thinking
gosh.
they're thinking this is incredibly funny. And I was pretty mortified. And I didn't know what to do again. So I just kind of went, "That's messed up." It's really all I said. And then after I got dressed and went out to pay, the nurse that was in the room with me kind of came up to me and she's like, "Things don't have to be that serious all the time, right? It's fun to just joke around." And I think she realized that they had really crossed the line.
Oh, she did.
Mm-hmm.
She was trying to make it right before you
Exactly.
said something.
Yeah. And now that I've saw all this, I am definitely reporting them
I hope you
because
do, because you should.
yeah, but I'm like thinking, what if it was like a young woman who was just like sexually assaulted and was getting an exam, or had been sexually assaulted and this was an exam and it's hard for her, or, you know, something like that that would trigger somebody who's, I mean, they don't know what my life is. They have no
Right.
idea. So it's bad enough for it to happen to me, but I think it would be even worse on somebody who has already been through a lot of trauma and they haven't been to a place where they've been able to deal with that yet. So
I
yeah,
agree.
I am definitely reporting that doctor.
I kind of had a similar thing, and it really won't take that long to tell.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor was doing the pap smear, and he said, "I'm going to do a rectal exam." And I said, "No." And he just did it. And so that's one of those, he crossed the line. He
Right.
didn't have anybody in there with him.
Yeah.
Like I really probably should have sued them, but it's been too long now. So
Right. Yeah, I think the chaperone thing is, I think that they have to do it now. I
they're
know
supposed to.
back when I was younger, they didn't always do it, but now they have to. Because of things like this. I mean, having a chaperone in there is supposed to prevent these things from happening. But like I just told everybody, they were both doing it, both of them. Thought it was hilarious. So anything can happen, even with a chaperone. And like I said, what happened to my friend? There was a nurse in the room when that happened. So
Right.
it's not always a protection. You still have to be, things still happen.
They definitely still happen. Sometimes things happen and people don't even know that it's happening. Megan Halleck says she had went to Dr. Lasher as a 15-year-old gymnast suffering from a fractured spine, but during what was supposed to be a routine appointment, Nasher assaulted her again and again and again. She testified in court in January. I can't remember what year that was. Sorry, it's not out there, but uh, she said he abused me all while telling me stories about his Olympic journey. What a jerk. She said, I closed my eyes tight, held my breath, and wanted to puke. To
Oh,
this day, those feelings are still there. And she is one of more than 150 women who came forward with testimonies at the Senate's hearing for Nasher.
oh my
His,
God.
yes, his trial was long.
Uh-huh.
He was a former doctor he was a doctor for the US gymnastics, and then he
Yeah, I
did sports
remember this.
medicine
Right.
at Michigan State University.
And
But
did he plead guilty or?
he pled guilty to charges of criminal sexual conduct and federal child pornography.
Ooh. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. That's horrible. Oh my. You know what I'm wondering though? I'm sitting here wondering, out of 150 women, thank goodness this one girl stood up and said something, because he
Yes.
was getting away with it for a really long time, obviously.
He was doing it with the parents in the room.
What?
Yeah, with the parents in the room, he would be, he told them it was something about strengthening their pelvic walls so that they could perform better. And
Wow.
I guess he would
Hmm.
fondle them or whatever while the parents were still in the room, but they couldn't see what was going on. You know what I mean?
Right.
How
Yeah. And if your mom's bringing you to the doctor and the doctor's doing this, you're, as a child, you're probably thinking, well, I guess this is what's supposed to happen.
right, they said they didn't know the
Right.
difference
Oh my
because he was a
goodness.
doctor and they trusted it.
Right. That is so horrible. Oh my goodness.
It is, and I'm so glad he got. I can't remember how many years he got.
He's probably never getting out though, right?
No, it was like 100 and something years served consecutively.
Good. And it's not enough. Those poor girls. Oh my goodness.
I know. So if you had any kind of situation like we talked about, or anything that you might think that is inappropriate, it probably was.
Hmm.
And so to report these kind of doctors, you can file complaints with several different associations. Every state is different, so you've got to look up your state medical board. You can file a complaint against your doctor there. If they decide to investigate the matter and find that there is merit to your complaint, they may temporarily even revoke the doctor's license. So
Well, I would hope so.
I know, right?
Yeah, but that's probably just part of the process. They temporarily
Right.
revoke it and then they probably investigate it even further.
I remember when I was a CNA, if you got any kind of physical abuse report, even like you had to be off work for so long while they investigated you.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. That's good that they do that, because otherwise, like that doctor, you're going to just keep abusing person after person after person until someone's brave enough to say something.
Yeah. But it only takes one. So if you're that one
Hmm.
and you're scared to come forward, just think, I
Think
mean, you
about
don't have
everyone
to come
else.
forward. As my therapist said, not everybody has to come forward. But if you feel like maybe you should, then maybe you should. Because there's
Yeah,
probably more than just you.
exactly. If they feel comfortable doing that kind of thing to you, they've
Right.
done it before. Yep. So we really hope you got something out of this episode. And if you know someone who has been in a similar situation, maybe share this with them. It might give them the courage to tell somebody if they haven't reported their doctor. I think it's good for all of us to be aware. And you can find us on social media. That'll be told to you at the end of this podcast. And we really hope to see you next week when we talk about family annihilators. That should be interesting.
It's going to be interesting.
So, Angie, what's the mantra for this week?
Be your own best advocate. You know what's best for you. You have to stand up for yourself.
That's right. That is
It's so
absolutely
true.
right.
It's
But
so true, because most people don't advocate for themselves, and then these doctors end up getting away with stuff.
Exactly. And I mean, we do say we're stronger together. If you can't be your own best advocate, take somebody with you to help you.
Definitely.
There's definitely people out there who are going to have similar situations who will help. Like, I would help you. Come to me.
Yes.
So like
definitely,
if you need help, come to one of us, because we are stronger together. And we do hope that you will listen to us next week. Take care, guys.
Mask up, guys. Peace out.
Unified Through Chronic and Mental Illness can be found at anchor.fm/unified. There you can find all social media links as well as other ways to listen.